Hello and welcome back to K&F Design. If you're new here, my name is Katie. Don't forget to head down below and hit that like button and the subscribe button. It really does help my channel. With that, I have this beautiful hut decor piece that I used actually in my wedding. This will be my last wedding piece I show. If you missed any of them, you can find them down in my YouTube channel. I even made this metal plaque on the bottom and I engraved it with my Cricut. So make sure you watch to the end to know about that. This is, I do need to glue just a little bit on the tip here, it kind of came off. But my rings for the wedding were here. I'll show you. So with my wedding ring, I just put it there, and then my husband's was on that one. And so we just took them off during the ceremony. So this is probably my favorite piece that I made for my wedding, and actually the wood's special to me as well because it came from my hometown where we have the oldest tree in Indiana. So this is a piece of the oldest tree in Indiana, and they were taking down a piece of a limb. And so my dad was able to snag a piece of that and helped me cut it down. And then we just sanded it. So a little special that way. I worked on it with my husband, I worked on it with my dad, and just kind of all of that together. Plus I just love how it looked, so that's why it's my favorite piece. So with that, let's get into crafting it. I used polyacrylic to help seal and protect my wood, and I'm just applying, I ended up doing 3 layers of this, so just apply it. I like the plastic paintbrush to do this with, so I don't ruin a regular one. Here's what our wood looks like after 1 coat of polyacrylic. One thing, I put this bag down to protect my surface, but the letters started to bleed onto my wood. I had to hurry up and sand them off. There's a little spot I missed there. So just be careful with that if you do that. It's a little rough. I'm going to sand it down and apply my 2nd coat of polyacrylic. Also, if you're a little impatient like I can be, and you do the whole thing, just make sure you rotate your piece so all the sides can dry evenly. Recommended to maybe just do the top, let it dry, then do the bottom, let it dry, and then do your sand and reapply. I use this thicker wire to make my heart shape. I started using just regular pliers to shape it. The thin looked a little thin and it wasn't quite as sturdy, so then my husband decided to use the drill here to twist a wire, just go slow with it, and then we shaped it into the heart shape. Once we had the shape, we just applied some Gorilla Glue to put it into the base, and this is how it looked like before greenery. And I applied glue here in the center to help hold it. Then I used Gorilla Glue and clamps to apply my greenery around it, and then I trimmed off the extra stems later after it was dry. The last step I chose to do for this ring holding a hood is to make a little plaque for it, because my wood was kind of special. It's actually from the oldest tree in Indiana, which is where I grew up. So I wanted to make sure I remembered that by making this little plaque on the back of it. To do so, I use my Cricut to engrave. When you do engraving, sometimes it's hard to see it if you just have a simple text. And then if you go and change your text to engrave, it will actually only do this outline of the letters, not fill it in. So to help make an engraving stand out, I want to fill it in. There are 2 ways to do that, so we will just duplicate this so we can do both ways. The first would be to do an offset, and we'll go -0.5 069. We'll try that as a nice offset. And we'll just make our text bigger so we can kind of see what we're doing here. I forgot to turn off the weld offset. We don't want it to weld it. So negative means it'll go inside. If we kept this as a positive, it would go on the other side. So we want where this blue is. 0.69 and apply. So now we have another line. We'll just keep going offset. Our setting's still the same, so we can just hit apply again. And see, now there's more lines. And you just keep doing this until it starts to fill in all of your letters. This is an okay way to do it, and so what the Cricut will do, it'll make these lines, and as it engraves, it'll just follow those lines, so it'll look like it's filled. Just note that if you have like this X here or here in the T, it doesn't look like it's completely filled there, and so you just want to make sure you keep going until it's nicely closed. There's still just a little bit in the T here, but I think that'll be okay. And then you'll need to select everything and hit attach. And then if you make it smaller, it looks like it's more filled in. This method works and it's okay. The amount of offset you want can kind of differ. This tends to be a nice number. And the number of times you need to make an offset depends on the size and the font and or shape. You can do regular shapes too. Just do a heart real quick. Change it to white so we can see it. And see it, we'll do that same offset. And so you just keep doing that. But don't forget to change it to engrave. If you're doing that, that's why I was filling it in, because it was cutting. The other way, which I like this better, it's just a little bit more even of a line, is you need this hatch fill. So it's hard to see it right now, but if you make it bigger, you can see there's all these lines. They're actually lines going this way, lines going that way. So you can see it a little bit better here. There's two different ones, and we're just going to use the slice tool. But to do a slice, you have to put the text over there and drag over both. But if you notice, slice is not active right now. It's because it has the text and two different hatch fills. But slice only works with two items. So we need to hide one of those hatch fills. So let's see if I can zoom in so you can see a little bit better. So the hatch now is going this way. And then if we hide the other one, it's going this way. So just hide one depending which way you want your hatch to go. Select both and hit slice. It will take it a minute to do, so just be patient with it. And then you can delete that. And then you just pull these away. Make sure it says engrave, so you can see what it looks like. That one's engraved, and that one's engraved. So then you can zoom in and just see whichever one you think looks the best. They're all going to be roughly about the same, but just delete whichever one you don't like. And as you can see, these little lines here, that's what your pen is going to go in and engrave. So you could have it engraved like this, or this, depending which way you like. Both will work. Just make sure whatever you are going to engrave is small enough to go underneath your Cricut machine, And right now only the Maker machines can engrave because they're the only ones that can use the engraving tool. So I used a copper foil, which is a very thin piece of copper, almost aluminum foil thinness, and then I cut my shape. Once I did my engraving first, just picked engraving as my setting, and then I cut it out with a pair of scissors after I engraved, and then I'll apply some Gorilla Glue to attach it to my base.